Hi everybody, welcome back to my Dare to be Artsy studio. I'm Cindy and I'm excited to be back with you for another volume event. We're going to do a couple projects together. The first one is a slimline card using our strawberry stamp set. Then we have a new format. It's called a slim mini card. And this one has a flower background. We have a couple different styles, so I think you're going to enjoy that. And just for this new size, we created an envelope. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create an envelope for those slim mini cards. So let's go get artsy together. We'll see you in a second. We're going to use our All the Buzz collection. This is the Honey Bear stamp and the Buzzy Bee stamp. We're also going to use our new Slim Mini Wavy dies. And the honeycomb die is a great addition to this collection. This card, we're going to use our new Flower Patch background die. Again, it's for the Slim Mini size. The Slim Mini base is going to be a 6.5 by 6 inch and then folded in half to be 6 inches by 3 1/4. We're using our Buzzy Bee paper. I love the background with all these bees and honeycombs and stuff, but we're going to use the reverse side, which is a nice tone-on-tone flower teal paper. That'll be really nice behind the flower die because you don't want it too busy on the background. This background die comes with the outside border also. Now we just cut this with white cardstock and I'm going to use the liquid glue. The border is about 1/8 of an inch wide, so I think the liquid glue works best. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue throughout the inside on the flowers. It's not really necessary, but I think it holds this layer down a little bit more securely and it won't get snagged. I love the detail in this die. Now let's decorate the inside of the card. We're using the Be Happy paper and we're using the wavy framelits for the inside. The sentiment is, a day without a friend like you is like a pot without a single drop of honey. I love the extra detail on the inside of a card. The bees that you see on the back of this paper also coordinate with the stamp set, the Buzzy Bee stamp set. And the dies that cut the images out of the stamp will also cut the images right out of the paper. Now let's add an image to the front of the card. We're going to use the Honey Bear stamp set and we're going to color up the bear and the bees. So this is the crash course in Copic coloring. We're going to speed this up quite a bit. For the browns, we're using E00, E33, E35, and E37. I tend to use, for the most part, I use just 3 colors when I'm doing an image, a really light, medium, and a dark. Some people like to start with the darkest color. I tend to flood the area with the lightest color first, and then I decide where the light source is coming from, and I go next with the medium color and then the really dark color. So you can see I'm just kind of putting the color down first, and then I'm going to start blending. So I put that really light color, then added the medium, then the dark, and then I'm working my way back again. So you can see I just continue to blend until I have him, the colors smoother. Go back in with that medium color and go from the really dark. I spin the card around. It's easier when I use a little flicking motion to go from the outside in. You can just keep rotating that image. You can see already how it's blending nicely. Again, this is just kind of a crash course, so it would take a lot longer to, to do it right. But this, I just want to give you guys a general idea on how to do this. Adding a little pink to his cheeks. Now for my blues for his little overalls, again, I'm flooding it with the lightest blue first, just to get something down. The blues I'm using are B000, B12, and B24. And again, the medium, and then coming in with the dark color underneath his arm, underneath the honey pot, on the leg in the back because you know that's going to be in more of a shadow. And just keep blending. Again, light to dark, dark to light, until you get it just the way you want it. And I'm going to add a little bit more shading with that darkest blue on the back side of him and under the pot. And then we're just going to color in the honey pot here with some little coral and orange. And keep in mind where the sun, I've got the sun coming in from the top right side, so everything on the left is going to be darker. And you just keep going back and forth from light to dark. I'm going to add a little yellow in for the honey that's dripping out of the pot. And I also noticed that I forgot his little paw here from the back side, so I came back in with the brown. Let's add some yellow on these little bumblebees. Okay, we're almost done with these. I'm add a little bit of orange to the bottom just to give him a little bit of shading from the back side. Also, for the wings, I'm adding a little bit of light blue. I think that helps. Even though they're typically clear, if I'm going to do something that's clear, I think a light blue is a good addition to that. Let's add a little color in their cheeks, and they are done. So we can go ahead and cut them out. Again, the dies that work with that stamp set are going to also work with our paper. So you can see that it's going to cut some of the bears out and some of the little bees out. But this time we wanted to use our colored images. So we'll just line these up. And I think these will look really cute on the front of our card. This is a really fun stamp set. You've got 3 different bears and the 2 bees. The other sentiment is, hope your birthday is as sweet as honey. You're the berry best, and bear hugs. So let's go ahead and add these guys to the front of the card. We're going to use foam tape for some dimension. Now I could put a sentiment on the front of the card. I decided to put it on the inside instead. And we'll add this other second bee to the inside. Another thing I like to do is add a little bit of Nouveau drops to the inside of the flowers. I'm just using the clear here just to add a little bit of glitter to it. I hope you enjoyed this card. If you want this stamp set and these dies, you can go to our website and look at the Class Kits and Bundles section, and it's all right there for you. Now let's make an envelope with our new Slim Mini envelope die. It's perfect for this size card. You've got all your pieces, and on the back it's got some very easy instructions for you. The envelope on our left is using the Ice Cream Social collection, and the one on the right is using the All the Buzz collection. So I've already pre-cut these separate little pieces. The side panels, you're gonna cut 2 of them. If you want the side panels to be the same, you're going to cut one out this direction. Then you're going to take your paper and flip it over to cut the second panel out. You're going to notice that these panels have a slope at the top. Let me show the instructions on the back. It's easier to see how this lays out by looking at the instructions. The center panel has a score line, so go ahead and fold that down. You're going to want your bone folder to make sure the folds are good and crisp. You're going to tuck in the little flaps. Just give them a nice crease. And then you have a bottom flap as well. So this flap is separate so that you can make it the same pattern, or you can use a different pattern for a nice contrast. Now see the angles? One is a little bit deeper. That's going to be at the top. The flatter section is at the bottom. I'm using score tape, and I'm putting the score tape right along the crease. Let's go ahead and add it to all the pieces. Make sure you go all the way from the top to the bottom. And let's do it on the bottom flap as well. With this piece, I'm going to position the score tape a little bit differently. Instead of right along the crease, I'm going to go right up to the very edge, because when we attach this to the inside of the envelope, I don't want your card, when you insert a card, to get snagged on it. So if you put that score tape all the way up to the edge, it's going to have a better seal on the inside. Now take your score tape and just peel part of it down. You're going to create a little flag. Position, starting at the bottom, you're going to go up just about 1/8 of an inch, maybe not quite that much. Make sure it's lined up really flat and really straight, and then you can just zip that little score tape ribbon off, and it's perfectly positioned. I'm going to do the same to the next panel. I'm going to make a little flag and pull it off to the side so you can get to it. Start at the bottom. You're going to want this to line up the left and the right sides at the same spot, so about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch off the bottom. Zip that tape out, and it's perfect. Now let's open it up and put the bottom panel in. I'm going to make another flag, pull it down to the bottom, center that along the bottom edge, hold it in place, and then you can zip that tape off. Now you don't want to seal it yet. You could seal it if you were just going to put adhesive along your top flap and give it to somebody, or even send it in the mail. But if you want to use the little tie pieces, you don't want to close it up yet. You're going to need 2 brads for this envelope if you want to do the little wrap pieces. The die set comes with 2 extra little half circles so you can decorate the flap. That's the biggest one, and you also have a smaller one if you wanted to layer it up even more. For this, we're just going to use 1. Okay, for these little circles, it's got a hole in the center. I recommend putting some score tape on the back of some white paper and you're going to double layer these because you want them to be pretty sturdy. I'm just going to attach these together so you've just got a thicker circle. You're going to be wrapping string around it, so I think that extra width is going to help. Make sure the hole is poked out. Now for positioning, you want one on the top flap. So I just have my little pokey tool. I'm just going to eyeball it and center it, make a little mark. And then I could poke this all the way through. Now I could have just poked it through the top layer and then put the brad in, so it would actually be a little more hidden. You're not going to see the back of the brad from the inside, but I'll show you later what else you can do to hide that brad on the inside. So again, I could have just put that on that half circle instead of all the way through, so you don't see that piece. On this card, I covered it up with another half circle so that you don't see the brad. Now we need the little circle piece on the bottom half. So this is why we didn't seal the card yet, or the envelope yet. Poke another hole and open your flap and go ahead and put the brad in your little circle. Now with this one, you are going to seal the brad. You're going to use your adhesive or foam tape. I mean, not foam tape, I'm sorry, just regular adhesive or score tape. I'm using the score tape. And you're going to just seal that. Perfect. Now this bottom flap, I like it on the outside just for a little contrast, and when you insert your card it won't get stuck on it, but you could tuck it in if you wanted to. And then I just take some string and I'm wrapping it around the top circle and then just doing a figure 8. Wrap it around a couple times and then you can cut off the extra. I think this is a great way to hand somebody a card. This is a little, one of our little slim mini cards that I did, and it's going to fit perfectly in this envelope. If you're going to mail the envelope, I would probably leave off the circles and leave it more flat. Now let's start our next card. This is going to use our Strawberry Vine stamp set. I'm going to speed up this next section again, just a little quick tutorial on the Copic markers. If you go to our website, daretobeartsy.com, we do have a Copic class coming up soon. Just a Copic basic class if you want to sign up for that. You'll notice I put a little arrow in the top right corner. Sometimes it's just a good way to remind myself where that sunlight is hitting. I always flood the image with the lightest color first. That's just the way I like to work it. We're using 3 or 4 shades of the red. So I'm keeping the darkest shade on the very far left side. And I just go back and forth from light to dark to light, and just keep blending until I'm really happy with it. And the more you go back and forth, it just is starting to blend better. And you can keep making these darker and a little bit deeper, but you can see how rounded they look. I'm adding a little extra shadow underneath the little green, where we're going to put the little green stem. I'm putting a little of the dark red in the little seeds. Now we're going to do the greens. Again, I'm flooding the background with the light green. You'll notice I'm not doing all the leaves at the same time, because if I'm going to keep going back and forth with dark and light, if I did too many at once, the ink would kind of dry out and it wouldn't blend as much. So you really want the ink to be wet as you're blending. You could even do just literally 1 leaf at a time, but just to speed things up, I'm doing these 3 together. But if you find it's not blending as well, then you're probably doing too big of area at once. Now everything that's back behind the berries, you want a little bit deeper. And I drew my little arrow again to remind myself where that sunlight is coming from, the top right corner. Adding a little bit of green to the stem. Now we can go ahead and do the little leaves on top. I love this stamp set for a slimline card, but you can snip off the little top section and it fits great on an A2 size card as well. This stamp set has so many different sentiments in it that you can combine with different words. You've got I love you more than chocolate covered strawberries, have a sweet day, you're so sweet. The stamp set even has a separate strawberry with a that little blob that you see is for chocolate, so you can have a chocolate dipped strawberry. You'll notice I keep going back and forth between the light colors and the dark colors until I feel like it's really well blended. Now I'm going to take my light blue. I wanted these little flower buds to look white, so whenever I do something that I want to look white, I add just a little bit of light blue to it, and that creates some shadow and depth. And while we're coloring, let's go ahead and do the single strawberry and leaf as well. The stamp set also has a cute little ladybug and the single flower. These will be great to add on the inside of the card. You put the darkest color around the outside to make the strawberry look really rounded. Come back in with the medium color. Blend from the outside in. All right, now let's die cut these. So here they are cut out. And we've got the word sweet as part of the die. I put some score tape on the back of the red paper. Then when you cut this out, it'll be much easier to place because the word is very delicate. So by having the score tape on the back already, it's going to make it easier. We're using our curve slimline dies. This has two curvy dies. One's got a scallop and one's just the stitch. We're going to use the scallop. Our card base is 8.5 by 8.5 by 7.5, folded in half to 8.5 by 3 3/4. But I'm going to cut the front cover down a little bit. The next piece is the black cardstock. I'm going to use Post-it notes to position this. So we've got it's going to hit at the top in the corner, and then I'm lining the Post-it note up along the top edge of the black paper because we're going to cut a second piece of paper and I want to position it exactly the same. The bump on the right is going all the way to the edge of the paper, and then the bottom Post-it note lines up to the bottom of the page. Then I'm going to take our green polka dot and do the same. So here's our first black pieces cut. Keep the Post-it note on your die and carefully lift it up. Then you can position, using the Post-it note as your guide, exactly where you cut on the black piece. So notice at the bottom, I'm just lining up that Post-it note. That bump hits the side of the paper, and the top edge hits the corner, just like the black piece did. So when I die cut that, you can line these two pieces up and they're going to match exactly. Now I could have taken the two cardstock pieces together and cut it, but by doing two layers, you're not going to see the stitch quite as well, so I went ahead and did it separate. If I laid them on like this, you're going to see the white, so I want to sandwich the white between those layers of cardstock. I just made sure this front panel was short enough that you're not going to see it between or sticking out at off the edge where the black is. So we're just going to line that up. And now we're going to cover the front. So we're going to put our adhesive along this edge. And I wanted just a subtle, just kind of a small area of the black showing. You could make that as wide as you want. You could have, it just depends on where you put your adhesive and where you want to slide your green polka dots out to the left. So see, I want it just subtle, but I could have slid it more if I wanted more of the black to show. That looks great. Perfect. And then I'll just trim off that little edge. Just make sure you don't trim it too far because you don't want to trim off the fold. So I just had to trim a teeny bit off. Then let's go ahead and put these strawberries on the inside. This is from our homegrown collection. This piece of paper itself is called Abundant Harvest. I love the back of this too. It's got the carrots and strawberries and daisies. I like the little pink stripe in this strawberry paper. Then we're going to attach the strawberries, and I want them to overlap. So just depends on how much black you want to show on where you position it. Once you kind of have an idea where you're going to do it, hold it together and flip it over. And then I just took a little pencil to leave a couple marks along that edge. So I made sure that my glue didn't extend past the curved border. Now I can use the pencil marks as my guide for my glue, just staying to the right side of that pencil. Okay, so I'm going to lay this down, make sure that the glue is not going beyond the black line. That looks great. Now let's add a sentiment to the top. This is a brand new stamp set that just came out. It's called Special Family. You've got all these words. You can see how you can position them all together. This one is Grandma, You're the Best. You've got this, it's got sister, brother, Nana, Papa, Mom, Dad, all the different words, family names that you would need. And I'm going to tuck this in. I'm using our oval framelits for this tag. You're going to be able to use this set for just all of your cards. Now the strawberry stamp set has lots of different sentiments on it as well, but I just wanted to show you this new set. And we're going to use the strawberry sentiments for the inside of the card. So here's our extra little pieces. I think this little ladybug will look really cute on this tag. And I think it needs some foam tape to pop it up. That's just a nice little added touch. Now let's add to the inside of the card. We're going to use our Slimline wavy dies for an inside panel. And we're going to use that word sweet that we've used with our die. And it says, You're so sweet. And here's a couple other versions of these cards. Let me show you one more card using our new stamp set. This is also using our Botanical Breeze collection. This says, For a Special Daughter. Don't forget to decorate the inside of your cards. If you like the cards from today, go to our website and look at the Class Kits and Bundles section, and you can get all of your products there. Now have a great week, and I dare you to be artsy.